special forces unit the Romans had. They could not afford to leave this to chance. They were only trying to prevent the inevitable, though. Rome was a world power. But they had no power over Jesus Christ, and all God's people said. Amen. Easter means that he who is who he claimed to be, and it is he who claimed what power he should have, had it. Lastly, number 3. Jesus does what he promises to do. In Mark chapter 10 and verse number 24, and they shall mock him, and shall scourge him, and they shall spit upon him. And by the way, is there anything more disgusting to have someone hawk up phlegm from their body and fling it and spit it in someone else's face? That's what they did to Jesus. Spit upon him, shall kill him, and on the 3rd day he shall rise again. Did he keep his promise? You see, the cross was no surprise to Jesus. It was very much his plan. Oh, by the way, as is in your life, for your cross that you're bearing right now. I don't know what it is, but you do. Is it a change? A massive change that's inevitable? I don't know what it is. Is it your home life? Is it your work life? Is it your relationship between your adult children? The cross was no surprise to Jesus. And when God makes a promise, he'll keep his word. And when the women came to anoint the body of the Lord on that resurrection morning, they heard the words of the angel, and here's what the angel said in Matthew 28:6. He said, he's not here. Hallelujah. For he is risen. And he said, come see the place where the Lord lay. It's empty. Well, there was the shroud and the burial clothes, and there was the very, very poignant napkin position. I've shared this with you before, but when the Jews would cover a napkin on the face after they wrapped the body, they would put a napkin very clean and precise and pull it down over the face. Well, when they came in, they saw that the napkin and the burial clothes were all folded and sat very nicely there on that sepulcher. And what was now something that we know historically is that when the apostles or anybody back then would eat, they would send a signal to the... By the way, when they ate back then, they didn't eat at tables where you sat in a chair. They had cushions. They were very low tables. You can see them still in the Middle East today. There were low tables, and you would sit on cushions, and you would just take time and eat. It was no rush, right? There was no Netflix to get to your next show, right? You didn't have to rush. You could just enjoy the fellowship of one another and across on the table and dip that bread, that sop, in that nice curry and gravy. Just enjoy yourself. But because the meals were so long, you would send a signal to the waiter. And the signal was you would take the napkin, and if you were done, completely done, and you were not going to return, you just crumpled up the napkin and left it there. But if you were going to return, you would fold it up and stick it right there so everybody would know that you're coming back. Isn't that a great little truth? When they came and they saw the napkin, they knew immediately the symbolism behind it. And when God says something, you can count on it because he keeps his promises. And I'm grateful for that. Hey, by the way, I've been saved 41 years now. I have not always been what I should be. I've embarrassed myself. I've embarrassed my Lord. I've embarrassed my family. I've embarrassed my employer. I've embarrassed my church. How about you all? I regret things, but God will never forsake me, nor will He ever leave me. And He's pulling for me. He's pulling for you. What is Easter? Easter is this point number 3, is that He keeps His promises. Oh man, am I so glad He keeps His promises. Because when Jesus did rise, He is who He said He was. Number 2, He had the power He said He had. And number 3, He kept the promises that He made. And because Jesus is who He claimed to be, and because He has the power He claimed to have, and because Jesus does what He promises to do, my past is forgiven. How about yours? Amen. You gotta be careful these days in the social media age we live in, though. Because if whatever is recorded, it's on the internet forever. But not on Jesus' heart. Have you ever been halfway through a project and wish you could start over? Have you had things that we wish we hadn't done? Said things that we wish we hadn't said? Thought things that we wish we hadn't thought? Do you know what on the keyboard Command Control Z is? Do you know what that does? It undoes whatever you did a minute ago, a second ago. We all have regrets, that we have guilt. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. What does that mean? Old things are passed away. What does that mean? Behold, all things become what? What does that mean? 2 Corinthians 5:17. It means that my past is forgiven. Why? Because of the empty tomb, the empty cross. What is Easter? Number next, my present problems can be managed. Because if He said that He was who He said He was, and He wasn't just a teacher, but He was God in the form of a human man, and all of God's people believe that, is that right? Then number 2, let me try that again. All of God's people believe that, is that right?
Amen. Amen.
Number 2, He says, I not only am God, but I am someone who has power, all power, every bit of power. And then number 3 says, I keep my promises. And then if He keeps His promises, then my past is forgiven. Because behold, all things become new. Then my present problems can be managed. Do you know what the saddest thing is, the saddest verse in the Bible? It's where the invalid man at the well, where the angel would come once a year and stir the waters. And the first one down to put his hand or foot inside of that pond, that little fountain, would be healed. You remember the verse? Jesus was there attending one of those miracles. It was that time when the angel would come, that one time a year. Jesus stood quietly right there in the shadows and He watched. And all of a sudden the water stirred up, frothed up. And people rushed down and threw themselves in. There was that one invalid man who'd been there for years, decades. And he saw the water and he tried to get up and get down there. Remember what he said? The Lord said, I paraphrase, He said, what's the problem here? Why did you not get down into the pond? And He said this, I have no man, stay with me now, that helpeth. I have no man that careth for me. That's what it is. Sad, isn't it? Our nursing homes are filled with people who, for the most part, every once in a while the family will come and visit them, usually on holidays, but not more than that. Oftentimes the elderly are left to their own, aren't they? Won't happen in our church though. Won't happen in, I know Nepali, oh my goodness. I know that doesn't happen. We take care of our older people, don't we? And I say to you this morning, very important that we know that He has the power to do what He says and the promises to keep. And He says, I'm not going to tell you that if you come to Jesus, all your problems are going to go away. That would be dishonest, wouldn't it? Because everyone knows that through times of persecution, that's where we learn. That's when we become obedient. So it would be dishonest. Jesus told us there would be trials and difficulties. Now, here's the big thing. I don't have to face them alone. It's okay if you're elderly and you can't really, the kids, they don't have a place to kind of put you up. And, you know, they work, they have careers, so they can't really attend to an older mom or dad. It's okay if you have to give them good care and put them in a nursing home. But you can't forget them, and you got to go see them, and you got to be a part of their life because they can't face it without you. And when you lose your spouse, young in life or old, how do you go on? You go on because of the empty tomb. You go on because God said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. I've kept every promise I've ever made. And you don't have to face what you're facing alone. That's the difference. I have a new strength. I have a new power. I have someone with me with the power to help me to manage the problems I face. Philippians 4:13, one of the first verses I ever memorized. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. My future is secure. My present problems can be managed. My past is forgiven. My future is secure. Every one of us here today will have to face death. And we don't like talking too much about it because, let's just be honest, other than the fact that we know we'll be with the Lord, I kind of like living. Anybody here like living? I kind of like it. Food tastes great. Fellowship tastes great. When I shake your hand or I give you a fist punch on Sunday mornings when we're walking around here, and usually I only give you a fist punch because you're already going like this when I come around. I'm like, oh, I can shake hands. They already got the holy water on. It's special to me. You walk in the door, maybe haven't been here in a couple of weeks, man, I say, boy, I like that. Boy, I like that. Why? So I'm the shepherd of this local congregation. And it's good to see the sheep, is it not? We don't like talking about things like the end of our life. Go ahead and invite your friends over sometime. Serve them up some food, and then start talking about death. One of the things that I use when we do door knocking is I use this, and it seems to work, but it's about death. So it's kind of strange. But as soon as I knock the door and they say, "Hey, how are you?" and I go, "Hi, I'm doing great. Hey, I'm Pastor Chantigian from Hopewell Baptist Church." Just out and meet people, inviting them out to services. Do you have like a church home that you go to on Sundays? And then a little chit chat, couple seconds, just kind of bring the walls down a little bit. Because they're like, "Who are you?" And then I hit them with the question. It's such an awesome question. Ready? Here it is. If you were to die today, what? Who are you? But it works. If you were to die today, do you know 100% in your heart that heaven would be your home? And they're kind of like a deer in the headlight looks. I was baptized, and I was we grew up in a Christian. We got and all of a sudden it makes them think. But what caused it? Death. Pondering and thinking about what happens when life is over. Are you all ready for this? You don't have to face it alone. Your future is secure. But the only way to prepare for your death is to accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. I told you I went to Andy Gong's mother's funeral last Saturday. And my daughter, both my daughters, they went with me. They said, Dad, what happens when you die? Do we have anything like, prepared? And I looked at Joni and I go, we need to write this down. We gotta think about this. I gotta get my will updated. Anybody with me? We don't think about these things. How about funeral? Do you all know how much it costs to bury you? Do you have any idea? Minimum 10,000. More like 15, 20,000 if you get a decent coffin. I'm not talking about cardboard. Boy, I tell you, it makes you think. It makes you think. But I don't have to face it alone. If thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath risen from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. The only way to prepare for death is to accept, by the way, what you've already accepted. If you're saved here today, you truly understand the power of Easter. What is it? It's that Jesus said, I'm not just a good teacher, Rich. I'm God. It's also, Easter is about seeing that Jesus has the power. Jesus is who he claimed to be. Jesus has the power he claimed to have. And Jesus does what he promised to do. So therefore, the resurrection means this. My past is forgiven. My present problems can be managed. And it means my future is secure. Now I'm looking around. I'm looking in your eyeballs. And to the best of my knowledge, every one of you has a personal testimony for salvation. It's a church family. We don't have a visitor. No visitors. It's a church family. What does Easter mean? It means that he is who he said he is. It means that he has the power he said he had. It means that he keeps the promises he made. If thou shalt confess with thy mouth and believe in your heart, he keeps his promises. These are beautiful flowers. Some people call them Easter lilies. You come up and you take a quick look at them later after the services, and you'll notice they're really amazing works of creation. I mean, you just look at the membranes here and the ability, there's just the exquisiteness of a plant. Hello? We're at the very top of the food chain. And he knows the number of hairs on your head. And he has a relationship with you. Do you believe it this morning? Those 3 points that we talked about. If you do, your future is secure. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this morning. People got up and they got dressed and groomed. And they came to see their brothers and their sisters. Some are newly visiting people and they are sensing that this is a place for them. That this is a place where they can participate and grow and be a part of this congregation. There are people here this morning that are so young. They really don't have a cognizant sense of what's going on. They're in the nursery. They're little babies. They're infants. But Lord, what's happening is they're building a consistency, a cadence, that although they don't quite understand it, it's security, it's routine, it's the right thing to do. Father, you're always about the Father's business. Lord, you're always about the Father's business. Every one of us is on the potter's wheel, day by day, minute by minute, being shaped. And we're grateful, Father, for it all stems from the truth and the power and the reality of your empty tomb.